Oh shit. Oh, hello people. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been probably about 2 weeks now. Yeah, not been very consistent, have I? But you gotta forgive me on this, alright? Because I've had things going on. School stuff, all sorts, but still, we're gonna get back on it. We're gonna have another reaction video today to start it off again. You wanna see something? Oof. Got a mullet now. Gone with a mullet. Bit late to the trend, I do have to say, but it's okay. We don't care. We don't care if it doesn't matter. Right, so we're going to be reacting to the worst MMA deaths ever.
Wow.
Now, I don't know a lot of deaths from MMA. I mean, I love MMA, like the sport of it. Like, I can't fucking fight, but I love watching this stuff. I love UFC. I love One Championship, all sorts. But yeah, we're gonna get into the video. All right, let's do this.
McGregor teammate tragedy. On April 9th, 2016, Portuguese fighter João Carvalho entered the cage at the National Stadium in Dublin, Ireland, for a welterweight bout against Charlie Ward at Total Extreme Fighting 1. Carvalho was 28 years old and facing Ward, a teammate of Conor McGregor, who watched from ringside. The main card drew a large crowd that evening, and the atmosphere was electric as Irish fans cheered for their local fighter. The fight turned brutal as Carvalho absorbed sustained punishment throughout 3 rounds. Reports from the event indicated he took approximately 41 blows to the head before referee Mariusz Dober stopped the contest in the 3rd round, awarding Ward a technical knockout victory. Carvalho was examined by doctors immediately after the stoppage. He appeared conscious, talking, and even smiling as he walked backstage under his own power. Then, approximately 20 minutes later, everything changed. Carvalho began complaining of a severe headache and rapidly deteriorated in the dressing room. He started vomiting and became disoriented as his condition spiraled. Medical staff rushed him to Beaumont Hospital for emergency neurosurgery. Doctors worked desperately to save him, but he spent 48 hours in critical condition before succumbing to his injuries on April 11th. The tragedy, witnessed by mixed martial arts' biggest star, forced Sport Ireland to implement strict safety standards and mandatory medical scans for...
That's crazy though, because the amount of damage people take in these fights, like I know about boxers' deaths, but I've never really heard about mixed martial arts deaths. Like, that's crazy. That's like you've got to be a menace to just be a fighter. Like, seriously, like boxing, MMA, anything, bro. Like, it's just crazy.
And professional fighters. First sanctioned death. On October 20th, 2007, Sam Vasquez entered the cage at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, for a bout against Vince Lombardi at Renegades Extreme Fighting. Vasquez was 35 years old and competing in one of the first major sanctioned events in Houston that evening. His wife Sandra watched from the audience as the fight began, unaware of the tragedy that would unfold. The fight progressed into the 3rd round when Lombardi landed a flush knockout punch. Vasquez collapsed backward and his head bounced violently off the canvas with a sickening impact. Within seconds, he began seizing in the cage as horrified spectators looked on. Doctors and paramedics rushed in immediately, working frantically to stabilize him as his body convulsed uncontrollably. Paramedics transported Vasquez to St. Joseph Medical Center, where doctors placed him in a medically induced coma. Scans revealed a large blood clot in his brain, and he had suffered a massive stroke on the right side. He lingered in the coma for weeks as doctors exhausted every treatment option.
Apparently, you can go from...
Eventually, medical staff transferred him to hospice care as hope faded. He died on November 30th, becoming the first fighter to die from injuries sustained in a sanctioned mixed martial arts bout in North America.
Jeez.
This death shattered the early argument that mixed martial arts was safer than boxing and forced athletic commissions to reevaluate their medical screening processes. Soccer kick tragedy. On April 27th, 2012...
Bro, honestly, soccer kicks are mental. Honestly, like, Jesus.
Mike Mittelmeyer entered an unregulated amateur bout in Bolivia. Mittelmeyer was 20 years old and fighting at a venue where rules were loose and safety protocols were virtually non-existent. The bout took place at night, in a location that lacked proper medical oversight or emergency equipment. During a grappling exchange, Mittelmeyer dropped for a leg lock submission attempt, placing himself on his back. His opponent, standing over him, delivered a full-force soccer kick directly to Mittelmeyer's face. Soccer kicks to the head of a grounded opponent are illegal in almost all modern unified rules, but this unregulated event had no such restrictions. The impact was devastating. Mittelmeyer collapsed immediately, and chaos erupted. Reports from the scene stated there was no ambulance on standby at the venue, a critical failure that sealed his fate. The alleged delay in transport proved fatal, as he suffered a cerebral hemorrhage that required immediate medical intervention. By the time he reached the hospital, the damage was irreversible. He died shortly after arrival from severe head trauma and the catastrophic delay in receiving proper care. The incident stands as a brutal example of why unified rules ban soccer kicks and why doctors must be ringside at every sanctioned event. Second impact syndrome. On
I
June
mean, like I said before, soccer kicks are deadly, bro. That just a proper imagine, yeah. People like in rugby and football, people boot these balls and they go flying. Imagine that, but on your head. Like that is just crazy. No wonder someone's died from that.
2010, Michael Kirkham made his professional debut at Confrontation at the convocation held at the University of South Carolina Aiken Convocation Center. Kirkham was 30 years old, stood 6 feet 9 inches tall, and was entering the cage for the first time as a professional that evening. His opponent was Carlos Iraburo, and the heavyweight bout began with high expectations. Less than a minute into the fight, Iraburo took Kirkham down and began landing ground and pound strikes from the top position. Kirkham went completely limp just 41 seconds into the contest. The referee stopped the fight immediately, but Kirkham never regained consciousness. Medical staff worked on him in the cage before transporting him to the hospital. He died 2 days later from a brain bleed that doctors identified as catastrophic. Investigation into Kirkham's medical history revealed a critical oversight. He had been knocked out in an amateur fight just 2 months prior, on April 24, 2010. His brain had not healed from the previous trauma, leading to second impact syndrome, where a second concussion causes rapid and fatal brain swelling. The earlier knockout had made him a walking time bomb, and his body could not withstand even minor additional trauma. The death exposed a failure in the suspension system, as his previous knockout should have medically suspended him from fighting again so soon. Real quick, if you find this informative, I cover stories like these regularly. Consider Changer. On December 11, 2015, Chinese fighter Yang Jianbing was cutting weight for a flyweight bout at One Spirit of Champions in Pasay, Manila, Philippines. Yang was 21 years old and competing for One Championship, Asia's biggest mixed martial arts promotion. The weight cut took place during the days leading up to the event, and Yang pushed his body to extreme limits to make the flyweight limit. The cut went catastrophically wrong.
Weight cuts as well. Like I've seen like a fighter not long ago in the UFC. They had a weight cut and like fainted while they were walking, like away from the weigh-ins. Like it, the weight cuts fighters have to make just absolutely kill their bodies, bro. Like I said, you've got to be a warrior to be a fighter.
As Yang became severely dehydrated, he collapsed and was rushed to San Juan de Dios Hospital in Manila. Doctors diagnosed him with rhabdomyolysis, a condition where muscle tissue breaks down and releases toxic proteins into the bloodstream, and heat stroke from the extreme metabolic stress his body had endured. His muscles were literally dissolving and poisoning his blood.
Jeez.
He suffered cardiopulmonary failure as his heart and lungs could no longer function under the toxic load. Despite aggressive medical intervention, Yang died hours before the event was scheduled to begin. His death sent shockwaves through the sport, particularly in Asia, where weight-cutting culture was deeply entrenched. One Championship immediately instituted the world's first major hydration testing program, banning weight cutting by dehydration entirely, and implementing same-day weigh-ins with hydration checks. Elbow strike death. On February 27, 2014, Congolese fighter Buto Gilan faced South African opponent Caron Davies at EFC Africa 27 in Johannesburg, South Africa. Gilan was 29 years old and competing on the continent's biggest mixed martial arts stage late that night. The bout was scheduled for 3 rounds, and the fight progressed with both men trading strikes and grappling exchanges. The fight reached the 3rd round when Davies secured a dominant mount position on top of Gilan. From this advantageous position, Davies rained down heavy elbow strikes directly to Gilan's head. The sharp bone of Davies' elbow struck repeatedly as Guillain attempted to defend. The referee stopped the fight, awarding Davies a technical knockout victory. Medical staff stabilized Guillain in the cage and transported him to Johannesburg General Hospital. Doctors treated him for severe swelling and bleeding on the brain, and initial reports suggested he was stable. However, his condition deteriorated over the following days despite medical intervention. He died 1 week later on March 5th from complications related to the severe brain trauma and persistent swelling that doctors could not control. Overhauled their medical protocols and insurance policies following the tragedy, though they controversially kept elbow strikes legal in their rule set. Recent amateur tragedy. On March 12, 2022, Christian Lubenga entered the cage for his amateur debut at MadR1ght Fight League, held at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. Lubenga was 25 years old and a graduate student at the University of Bridgeport. The evening event drew a crowd of supporters who watched as the educated young fighter pursued his passion for mixed martial arts. Lubenga lost via technical knockout in the third round, but appeared lucid immediately after the stoppage. He walked back to the locker room under his own power, talking with his cornermen and showing no obvious signs of distress. Medical staff cleared him after a brief examination, and everything seemed routine following a competitive amateur bout. Then, minutes later in the locker room, teammates noticed his speech beginning to slur. He rapidly lost consciousness as his condition deteriorated with alarming speed. Emergency responders transported him to Bay State Medical Center, where doctors discovered severe brain trauma that had gone initially unnoticed. He died 2 days later, on March 14th, from injuries that manifested only after he left the cage. The death shocked the New England mixed martial arts community because Lubenga was highly educated and had done everything right regarding training and preparation. Toxic blood. On August 12, 2017, Rondell Clark fought at Cage Titans 35 in Plymouth, Massachusetts, in a scheduled 3-round bout against opponent Ryan Dunn. The fight progressed into the third round, where Clark appeared exhausted rather than seriously hurt. The referee stopped the contest via technical knockout, and Clark seemed more fatigued than injured. Medical staff transported Clark to the hospital as a precautionary measure following the stoppage. Doctors began running tests and discovered his kidneys were failing rapidly, a shocking finding that had nothing to do with the strikes he absorbed. The extreme weight cut Clark had undergone before the fight had triggered widespread rhabdomyolysis throughout his body. His muscle fiber breakdown released myoglobin into his bloodstream in massive quantities, effectively turning his blood toxic and poisoning his organs. The proteins clogged his kidneys and prevented proper filtration. Despite aggressive dialysis attempts to clean his blood, the damage was too extensive. He died 3 days later, on August 15th, as his body systems shut down one by one. The physical exertion of the fight had accelerated the muscle breakdown that the weight cut had initiated. The autopsy confirmed that the weight cut, not the punches, was the primary cause of death, leading to stricter hydration rules in Massachusetts. Wild West legend. On March 16, 1998, American fighter Douglas Dedge traveled.
It just shows how brutal all of these weight cuts are. Like, most of these deaths are from weight cuts, bro. Like,
Kiev, Ukraine, for a Minamoto challenge match at the Kiev Sport Palace during the chaotic early days of mixed martial arts. Dedge was 31 years old and participating in an international Ukraine Against the World event. Rumors swirled that he had blacked out during training before the fight, but hid the incident in order to compete. Dedge fought Ukrainian opponent Yevgeny Zolotarev in a ring rather than the modern cage format. After taking significant punishment throughout the bout, Dedge tapped out while on the bottom, signaling his submission. He stood up to shake hands with his opponent in a show of sportsmanship. Then his legs gave out beneath him, and he collapsed to the canvas. Medical staff transported Dedge to the Kiev Institute of Neurosurgery, where doctors worked to save him. He died 2 days later on March 18th from severe brain injuries. He became the first well-known American death in the sport, though the bout occurred in an unregulated international event outside the jurisdiction of American athletic commissions. Dedge's death became a dark legend of the no-holds-barred era, cited for years by politicians trying to ban the sport in America. If this was informative, consider subscribing so you don't miss future content.
okay, all right. So, first of all, let me just like this video and subscribe and subscribe to this guy. Honestly, amazing video right there. Sad though, because the amount of deaths that have happened in that sport and many other sports. Anyway, that will do for the video today. I'm going to try and get this out for Friday, where most people, at least near me, break up for half term. I don't know whether it's half term or not. Anyway, 2 weeks off, so that's really cool for Easter. Everyone, I hope you're having an amazing Easter time. I hope you have an amazing time off if you're not, but just hope you have an amazing day. And I'll see you in the next video. Also, we've upgraded quite a bit, you know, look at the new mic. New mic right here. Because it used to just be this thing, didn't it? But we're upgrading over here. Again, we have got a goal of 100 subscribers by the end of 2026. We are almost halfway there. By the time I'm recording this, we are on 48 subscribers. We need to try and get that to at least 50 before the end of March. So it's a few days, or at least, you know, soon. We should do it soon, before the end of the holidays. Let's try and get to 50 subscribers, halfway there. And we're not even halfway through the year. But I believe we can do it. As always, 2026, I think it is our year. I'm going to try and be consistent. Now, like I said, took 2 weeks off, but we've got to come back no matter what videos they are. We have been doing streams, so we did do a live stream like 2 weeks, no, not 1-2 weeks ago, like a week ago, with my mate Joe, which was very fun. I'm going to be doing more live streams over the holidays, but yeah. As always, it's been lovely having you here. Thank you for watching. Go subscribe, help us reach our goal. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.